All right, next game up here, Seahawks 31, Steelers 17. Let's start with the Seahawks here. And I know everybody wants to talk about the backfield. We'll talk about the backfield here in just a second. But I got to say, Chris, I think Jackson Smith-Njigba might have been quietly like the best wide receiver in the NFL through 2 weeks. Big statement, but he's been awesome. On just a 26% slot rate, he owns a 44% share of the team yards, and he's averaging 113.5 yards per game. He had a great deep reception in this game where he caught it in tight coverage. He's running so many in breakers. He's also got 2 passes behind the line of scrimmage in this game. Like this, when I say this all the time, when the Seahawks, like Clint Kubiak, the offensive coordinator there, when this offense feels like it has a dude, they're just going to funnel that guy the football, which is exactly what's happened through the first 2 weeks. Now, Cooper Kupp popped up with 30% target share in this game. That was nice to see after just a 13.6% team target share in week 1. But JSN is still the dude making plays downfield, winning outside. I mean, he's just been awesome through 2 weeks.
Yeah, and I guess I would push back on the idea from folks that were concerned with DK Metcalf leaving that JSN couldn't ascend to this level of not just opportunity, but productivity as well. Because we got glimpses of that in the 2024 when Metcalf was out for those 2-3 weeks with like the ankle and lower body injuries. Yeah. And it wasn't just the fact that the Seahawks were trying to spam a bunch of interior targets to JSN. He was playing both inside and outside. And that was also a part of his collegiate production as well. He wasn't just a slot receiver when he was at Ohio State. So I think this is a scenario where a lot of folks looked at just the overall usage for a guy like JSN without contextualizing some of those routes that he was running when you did have this big-bodied wide receiver in Metcalf as a part of the offense. And so now seeing him have this, just in this game alone, a third of the targets, and it was good to see Cooper Kupp also getting involved as well, but seeing JSN have this level of opportunity, but also being productive as well. I mean, if folks were essentially watching some of that usage when Metcalf wasn't there, I think some folks should have seen this coming, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, Sam Darnold got the ball out quickly in this game. 51.5% of his pass attempts were under 2.5 seconds. And again, that's like JSN on quick hitters, getting Cooper Kupp out the ball in the flat, like just avoiding pressure against a team that has some good players up front, including TJ Watt. That was just, I think, it was kind of a weird week 1 coaching job by Kubiak, but this to me in the pass game was pretty impressive, which transitions perfectly to the run game. Like I said, I know everyone wants to talk about the backfield here. If you were looking for like hey, let's just give Zach Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker like an even shot in week 2 and see what happens. I mean, Kenneth Walker blew away Zach Charbonnet in this one. Charbonnet still played more snaps and actually got 15 carries to 13 for Walker. But man, the production could not be any more different. Kenneth Walker, 105 yards on 13 carries, 8.1 yards per attempt. He definitely hit the big plays. Zach Charbonnet, 10 yards on just 15 carries. I thought this was interesting too, Chris. 11 carries for 97 yards, 84.6% of his attempts went to the left side, did Kenneth Walker. So they were just like, yeah, TJ Watt's lining up over there. We're going to run that way. And they found a lot of success ripping those big plays with Kenneth Walker on that side of the field.
And at least for me, I'm coming into this season, I figured that Kenneth Walker would be the beneficiary of this Kubiak blocking scheme. And it's not just the fact that he ran, or at least he used a lot of that when he was still in college, but also it's just the way that Kenneth Walker runs and like how well he is from a vision standpoint. In 2024, before he went down, he had one of the highest forced missed tackle rates. I think it was around like 39.9%, somewhere in there. And that's actually one of the highest forced missed tackle rates that I had seen since probably like 2015, somewhere in there. And so also seeing him in this game, about 23% forced missed tackle rate. So that's around that's in like the top 10-ish rate that you'd want to see for an RB1. That's where you can see 3 to 5 yard gains into 8, 9, 10 yard gains, right? Like where you can see, like, as long as a running back is consistently making the first man miss, some of those shorter area runs can turn into those longer gains. So a guy like Walker that we know has that home run type of speed once he gets out in the open field, that's where you can see those game breaking type of totes that you can see from a guy like Walker. And we saw that today. So while I would still project a decent split between the two of them moving forward. It might be like that David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs type of split. If Walker is now back to being that type, like from a health standpoint, some of that foot stuff from an offseason is gone. I mean, this level of effectiveness, I would at least assume is going to be there for Walker moving forward.
Steelers side of things here. This was a game that I kind of expected from Rodgers going against a good defense that really makes things complicated on the back end and can pressure you. 6 different Seahawks defenders had at least one pressure in this game, and they didn't blitz a ton. It was just like, hey, we got pressure with the front 4 and confuses things on the back end. Rodgers put the ball in harm's way, wasn't consistently accurate. Now, it wasn't all his fault. Calvin Austin kind of made a mistake on one of those interceptions, but just again, when you can force him off his spot, when the picture's not perfect, it can be a little bit more difficult. The thing I think is troubling with this passing game right now, beyond the Rodgers stuff, Metcalf's only been targeted on 18.8% of his routes. He had a sweet touchdown against his former team in this one, Chris, but I think if DK Metcalf is going to be like an every week fantasy starter for you, he has to get a lot more targets than he's gotten so far through 2 weeks.
They have the same issue that we were harping on for the Dolphins from last week. I mean, look how many wide receivers or just pass catchers in general had 2 or more targets in this game. It was Jalen Warren with 4, Pat Freiermuth, Jonnu Smith, Calvin Austin, Kenneth Gainwell, Roman Wilson got 2 targets. I mean, 6 pass catchers got 2 or more just this past week. So my question essentially for the Steelers right now in their offense is Arthur Smith getting a bit too cute? Are we falling into the same trap that we've gone down, or the same road that we've gone down with Arthur Smith in past seasons? So I do have some general concern about DK Metcalf's viability from a fantasy standpoint, because without that volume, it's going to be tough to at least rely on him from a week in, week out standpoint.
Yeah, and in the run game, Jalen Warren put some distance between himself and Kenny Gainwell, and Caleb Johnson once again recorded just 1 carry, and it was going to be.
Did you see the kickoff?
Yes, the kickoff return. I mean, he's supposed to. It's like it's still a live ball. He like lets it go beyond him, and then that gave the Seahawks a touchdown. So can't see Caleb Johnson climbing the depth chart anytime soon after that mistake that cost his team a touchdown. Let's move on here to Lions 52, Bears 21. Blowout game, but I think we learned a lot in this game. Starting with on the Lions side. Guess we don't got to care about this offense's slow start. I mean, they pretty much got whatever they wanted in this game. 7.8 yards per carry for Jahmyr Gibbs, 5.2 yards per carry for David Montgomery, who punches in a goal line touchdown. 5 passing touchdowns for Jared Goff, 3 to Amon-Ra St. Brown, 1 to Jameson Williams caught 2 passes for 108 yards and a touchdown. What a Jameson Williams stat line. And the only thing that was concerning coming out of this game is I believe Sam Laporta is dealing with an injury. I believe he was carted off. Don't have an update on that one. Not even sure if he returned to the game or not. But I mean, they got whatever they wanted in this game to the Detroit Lions.
And I think the biggest thing that really doesn't come into on the stat sheet or as relevant for fantasy players is that offensive line. Last week, 0 push from a rushing standpoint for either Jahmyr Gibbs or David Montgomery. Almost 0 adjusted yards before contact for Jahmyr Gibbs. Almost 2 full yards more in week 2. 1.83 adjusted yards before contact for Gibbs. And that's what that runway that you would need for a guy like him that can be so explosive. So only see him have 1 run of 10 plus yards in week 1, up to 3 just this week against the Bears. I'm a bit more hopeful for not just the Lions running game, but just their entire offense as a whole, because as we were talking earlier about ARSB as the boom player of the week, if Jared Goff is going to get this much time and the offensive line has this much time, or gets this much push, not just for Goff, but for the running game, we should see some similar production. I don't think it's going to be this level of production, 52 freaking points, but at the same time, around that 40 point average that we were seeing in 2024 for sure.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see, go back and watch this game and see if some of the things that were absent in week 1, like the play action, I'll tell you this, like some of the motion and stuff, I'm not sure off the top of my head, like if that was really back, like motion at the snap, stuff like that. But I mean, there were times in this game where I was like, hey, Dennis Allen, you know what a play action fake is? Like, brother, I mean, they were just, the Lions were smoking the Bears on play action. So I thought, again, some of that stuff in week 1 might have been, and I wrote about this in the column, talked about it on the pod, like some of the lack of play action, lack of motion and stuff could be because they were negative game script last week with the Detroit Lions. Not a lot of negative game script in this one. This is really where they were able to lean into all the buttons they like to push. On the Bears side of things, 2 big takeaways here. The first negative is that the run game is just atrocious. Like, there's 2 big problems here that the Bears have on offense that, like, before you even get to like takesman stuff on Caleb Williams. According to Hayden Winks in this game, the Bears had minus 4.6 EPA per carry. That's a bottom 6th percentile mark, 29% success rate. And then they also just had a ton of pre-snap penalties by the offensive line in this game. I mean, they had 9 plays with 15 plus yards to go. That's the most in the NFL. It's like you can't function as an offense that way. So before you even talk about some of the passing game stuff, that is a big problem. And it's just like, you guys walked into week 1 with like DeAndre Swift as your starting running back. What did you expect to happen, Chris? That to me is one of the biggest issues in this offense, that because of the hyper fixation on Williams in the passing game, that's going to get lost in the discussion here.
And the Bears had a number of procedural penalties in their week 1 opener against the Vikings. I mean, this can't continue to happen. I mean, this was the same team with the same head coach that throughout most of the offseason was stressing details. You had to understand the flow of the offense and be able to get folks in the right position, pre-snap, and all of that. And now it's 2 weeks in a row that they're behind the sticks, or well behind the sticks from a yardage standpoint, because of some of those errors, of those mental errors. So I do have some general concerns about what's going to happen, like with this passing game offense. But at least we're still seeing some production from Caleb Williams, and of course some production to Rome Odunze as well.
Yes, that's the positive takeaway here, that through 2 weeks, Rome Odunze is averaging 20.5 points per game, team high 80 routes, 42.2% share of the air yards, 29.9% target share, 3 end zone targets so far through 2 weeks, 3 touchdowns. He's had 3 touchdowns all of last year as a rookie. And the worst part, well, I guess maybe the good bad part is that, like, Chris, he should have had even more. Like, he left a couple of plays on the field in this game. He had a couple of drops, like, back to back on one drive that, like, he's got to start bringing those in. Once he does, like, man, the sky really is the limit, because it's clear, like, both from the usage and watching this team, that they're setting him up to be the lead dog right now. I mean, that was what I thought was going to happen, but I think it's been kind of confirmed here through 2 weeks.
And seeing how he's been used, because really just two targets from the slot, if I'm remembering correctly, from this game against the Lions, and also how like the amount of timing and rapport that he has with Caleb Williams, because a lot of those shots that he was getting from Caleb Williams were on some of those outbreakers towards the sideline, and just as well as anybody, that requires a level of connection with your quarterback in order to make a lot of those completions. And so if this is the type of usage that we should see from not just from Caleb but from Rome, I mean, let's see what happens when he starts getting shorter area throws, some of those layup type targets, or those routes as well. See him used across the middle of the field a bit more, because if he's doing so well and being so effective as a boundary receiver, essentially was what he was here for the Bears this week. I mean, give him some of that other stuff that DJ Moore has been receiving, and I'm assuming that he'll really be cooking after that.
Yeah, Olamide Zaccheaus so far leads the team with 11 targets from the slot through 2 weeks, but Rome is second with 6. So a little bit mixed from the usage perspective. But yeah, very impressed with the start from him so far. Catch a couple more of those balls today, and we're talking about it's hard to get better than 128 yards and 2 touchdowns, but would have been an even bigger day potentially for the second-year wideout.